Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah, man, I don't got nothing.
We've run out of things to discuss. I mean, not really, because weird shit happens all the time, but you know, it's one of those weeks, and I think we're gonna, let me open the old junk drawer here. Let's see what's behind my candy stash. Oh,
A candy stash? Holy.
oh ho 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 ho! What have we here? I think I got something.
You know what? I'm going to take out my big notebook too. See if I got any hidden interesting shit. Just so you guys know, we love you so much that we're always doing research. We're always reading stuff that's weird to see if we can possibly cover it on the show. And like we said before, we find stuff, but sometimes it's not enough to do an entire show on.
Yeah, so we keep it tucked away behind the candy stash, or at least in my case, behind the candy. Got this my little black book of little weird tidbits that aren't a full show, but worth mentioning in cases like this. So I think that's what we'll do today. We'll dip into our books, our little black books, and talk about, you know, just these weird one-off cases that would definitely not be a whole show worth. So tonight,
Random Weirdness number 3.
yeah, right. It's probably more than number 3, but this will be the third officially named Random Weirdness episode.
We've most definitely bullshit our way through many an episodes. Probably. Or it probably sounded like we did, at least.
Yeah. According to some people, at least. So let me jump in, or well, actually, do you want to read that thing first?
Oh yeah, this is something that we got on Facebook, and I messaged them to see if I can read it here on the show, and they didn't respond, so I'm not going to say that. Oh wait, they did respond.
Oh shit! Right on the air while we were recording, they responded. And they said, if you mention this on air, I will set your life on fire. So, sorry, guys.
Yeah, we got a message from our buddy, Tony Hohan. And it's a message he sent us, but man, it really made me think a little bit, especially with what's going on. But he wrote,
aliens are obviously real. The full disclosure date is June 25th. Their planet and race are dying, and they have made a deal with our government to take safe haven here in exchange for technology. They are also dying out as a species, so they need to continue to breed with new partners to ensure their race's survival. To safely do this, they need certain proteins, enzymes, minerals, and other worldly ingredients, etc. to ensure safe development of the fetuses and ensure the safety of themselves against our own earthly diseases. None of us humans possess the right mix. Nor could we be a suitable safe host, equipped for reproduction, unless we were given all of the necessary ingredients to ensure compatibility with them. Once a large part of our population becomes suitable safe hosts, mates, whatever you want to call it, they will reveal themselves to us and make it known their intentions. But how could we ever prep enough people for something on that large of a scale? You would need a breeding population. I mean, you would need a couple billion of us to undergo some kind of testing and inject the necessary otherworldly cocktail of ingredients into our bodies willingly. Wonder if that would ever be possible on a global scale.
so do you think everybody who's been vaccinated has just been prepped for alien baby making?
Yep. That's absolutely what the thing is. Like, we don't really often get into conspiracy territory, and I don't want to go too down too far down the Alex Jones rabbit hole here. But I do think it's kind of weird, the whole vaccination thing. And I don't know about your state, but in my state, a lot of the laws are, or I shouldn't say the laws, a lot of the regulations, like with reopening and everything, are treating people that don't get vaccinated as, maybe it's kind of too harsh of a statement, but essentially being treated like second-class citizens. Like when concerts open up, there will be preferential seating for people that have their vaccines, which doesn't make fucking sense at all, really, if you think about it. Because if you're vaccinated, why would it be a big deal if you were next to someone who wasn't vaccinated? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. But it's just it does seem weird, and I've also heard it from the biblical side too. This being compared to the mark of the beast, and how it's like, in order to do anything, you need to have the mark or the vaccine, in order to take your mask off in public, or where it's a slippery slope that I could see things going down. Like, you can't fucking go out in public without your vaccine papers. It is kind of weird, and I think it's mainly because we've never gone through anything like this, and I say we, not as you and I, but we as like a race, which is not to say we've never been through a pandemic, but we've never been through a pandemic in this day and age, when you've got the internet and people banding together one way or another over message boards and sharing ideas, and with the medical technology we have, and things weren't like this in the past. In the past, the pandemic would sweep through and people would die, and then we would get over it and figure out a way to cure it or protect ourselves down the line. So it's just weird. It's a weird time, and I think a lot of people are upset about the way things are going, whether it be upset just because life as we know it got put on hold for a year and a half now, or feeling like your rights are being restricted for one reason or another. And whenever big events happen that have adverse effects on the population, there's always conspiracy theories that spring up. Like, just centering around COVID alone, I mean, we could do like a 2-hour episode just on COVID conspiracies alone. Like,
right.
Was it a man-made virus? Was it an alien virus? Was it a weapon that backfired on the Chinese? They're just so many, and some of them are interesting, some of them are ridiculous. But sure, let's say it's a prep for everyone that got vaccinated. I hope you are ready to be the bastard father or mother of an alien baby.
I'm ready. I'm ready to be a space daddy.
Well, see, whether you're male or female or otherwise, they're going to impregnate you anyway. Oh,
so I got to carry this thing to term and stuff?
Yeah. You absolutely have to carry it.
All right.
And that's the way she goes, boys.
For the betterment of both our races and species, I shall carry your
I
feti.
shall bear this burden.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we got to impound it the old-fashioned way. You know what I'm saying?
Buy me some dinner and give me a handy behind the restaurant.
Tell me I'm pretty.
The old ways. What do you think about that? Because we're you are the vaccinated one out of us. So what do you think? Do you think that you were prepped against your will to bear the children of an alien?
Without getting too political and into anything like that at all, it's the perfect place to do so. I mean, I've heard other conspiracies about how it's a chance to inject this or that, and everybody focuses on micro robots that are going to gather in our brain and take over, whatever it is. But to me, the main point of those phrases is that it was a chance for them to inject us with anything. But I mean, again, I don't want to be too political. I think there's got to be for our species to evolve and continue. We've been met with threats like this before. I mean, you can go look up old black and white photos during previous pandemics where people are holding up a sign that says wear a mask or go to jail. We've gone through this before, but like you said, with the addition of the internet, it's literally a world-changing thing. So it gets more politicized.
I think more than anything, it's the media ramping up the fear, you know, and that to me is the biggest issue. Like, I know that COVID sucks, and I've known several people that had COVID, and they've all said it fucking sucks. But when you really look at the numbers, the death rate it's so low. It's like less than 1%.
Well, see, that's the thing about all that stuff, though, is that they've been giving us some pretty funny information about the whole thing the entire time.
Yeah, and it's all been, all of the information that's being put out is centered around creating fear among the populace. And I mean, really, if you think about it, like, just take the politics out of it. Take the pandemic out of it and just look at it as just an experiment. If somebody wanted to do an experiment to see how easy it would be to control a population, we as a country specifically, but all over the world, have shown how easily compliant we would become when given enough reason to fear something. I mean, we've allowed our lives to be put on hold for a year and a half. And for people that are adults, like a year and a half, you know, that's nothing. But think about kids, you know, like kids in school, they missed an entire year of being a kid. You don't get that back. Like, that's gone. Their whole chance to experience things as a kid, they're not getting that back. You've got kids who spent the last year of their lives in their house and not interacting with people face to face, and that's not healthy. And you can say, well, neither is COVID, and yeah, obviously neither is COVID, but also look at the human immune system and the fact that all of us we've been isolated for so long. Like, what other shit are we opening ourselves up to from not being exposed to other stuff? You know, like, you build up your immune system through exposure to other germs and bacteria. And we've been using fucking hand sanitizer and staying inside and away from everything. Like, someone's going to get a fucking cold and die because, I mean, I'm being completely hyperbolic here, but I don't know. I'm just fucking over the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing's definitely a mess for sure. But that's just, that message was very interesting to me. It hit me in an interesting way. I mean, maybe it's because I just, got vaccinated and I'm like, oh wow, maybe they did do something.
I'm gonna be a daddy.
Yeah, maybe
mommy.
It ties into all the, ramping up of disclosure and all the new videos and stuff like that.
But even that stuff, man, like the speed at which all this stuff is coming out just makes me think it's such bullshit. They've been covering this shit up since the 40s, maybe even before that, but we know for a fact since the 40s this shit has been covered up or ignored or explained away, all manner of things. It hasn't been taken seriously. And over the past 3 years now, we're getting leak after leak after leak, and it gets leaked, and within a short period of time being leaked, the military confirms that it's real. And then we're building up to this big announcement in June that a lot of people they're speculating that this is going to be the announcement that disclosure is real. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is going to be the the announcement that aliens are actually real and all that stuff. And I'm not going to believe it, which is really fucking disappointing for me to say. And me from like 10 years ago would just say I'm being a fucking debunking asshole. But I've been studying this shit for at least 30 years now. I mean, I'll date myself. At least 30 years I've been studying this shit. And knowing, like looking at everything that I've looked at and the pattern of disinformation and
their past actions, really?
Yeah. Just all the disinformation surrounding the entire phenomenon and all the denial and all the obfuscation and just everything that the government and the military has done to debunk or hide or cover up this subject, to have them now turn around and be like, we're going to be giving everything out to people and all these UFO videos are real. And I don't fucking buy it, man. I just don't buy it. Like they've lied for so long and they've ruined so many lives to cover up things like Paul Benowitz. You know, we've covered the story of Richard Doty and the Mirage Men, and that case right there shows what they would do to an individual to cover it up. What about society as a whole and everything they've done to cover it up for so long? Why are they now saying that they're going to tell us the information and they're going to share all this stuff with us and this stuff is real? And why now? It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that that leads us right back to the internet. I think it's a lot more difficult to keep things hidden with people who will leak information, with people who can hack information. You know, it's...
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you can have all the leaks you want, but until the military actually confirms that it's real, no one's going to believe that it's real. You know, like, you can be like, yeah, this was a leak that was leaked by some military pilot and now it's being released online. And then you could look up like any number of special effects artists that could do the exact same fucking thing with a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
Like that TikTok video, if it's super unimpressive without having the military say it's real. Like just seeing that video alone with no context, nothing.
Right, if there was like no military radar type of imagery on that film as well, like the round scope and all, you know, all that type of shit and all the markings, if it was just that, it would look pretty unimpressive.
But even with those markings, like you can put that in with a computer program. Like that's not a difficult thing to do. They do it in the movies all the fucking time.
Yeah,
and even you have a pilot's story telling it. That makes it a little more impressive because you're hearing the story from the pilot. But again, it's just a story. And then until it's actually confirmed by the military or the government, it doesn't mean anything. And now we've got them confirming like basically every leak. Now it's like a video gets leaked and a week later they're confirming that it's real. Like that pyramid one, and then I think just last week there was the one with the fucking orb that was in the sky and then flew down into the ocean, and they confirmed that was real. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I think it's all too good to be true. And I would like to clarify by saying I'm not saying that UFOs aren't real, and I'm not saying that the phenomenon isn't real. I think a lot of this shit is very real. I'm just not buying what's being put out by the military. And I'm not buying this whole olive branch of disclosure that they're extending to us now. After all this fucking time of lies and cover-ups and disinformation.
Right. It's kind of like, did they just get together and go, well, hiding that's just a wash now? And just stopping that? They've always hid that shit.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
We'll see. Maybe the aliens got our government by the short and curlies or something.
Yeah. So just because I know we've been talking about this a lot lately, I'm going to make a pact to you guys right now that I will not cover alien disclosure again until this big announcement takes place. I will not even mention it unless fucking aliens land and come out of their ship and be like, hey guys, I'm not going to say another word until this big announcement.
Dude, can you imagine how weird and somber the episode will be when they just show footage, like on a news press, of aliens, in some type of room talking with people, and it's just a complete full leak. Like they're here. They've always been here.
Yeah, they're here. They're casting their lizard wizard spells, and taking our cows, and impregnating our men.
I'm gonna be a space dad.
Space mom, because in space the men are moms. Yes. So,
Well, thank you again, Tony, for sending that to us. That was scary to read.
Yeah.
All right. So, what did you find in your black book of undesignated weirdness?
Mine is going to be weirdness in the time of COVID.
Ooh.
They have nothing to do with COVID, but they took place in 2020. So the first one that I've got, unfortunately, this is one of those stories that's like very lacking in details, which leads me to believe that it's probably bullshit, but it's one of those weird fucking alien stories. So I wanted to share it on the show because it's a weird fucking alien story. And I love the one-off weirdo aliens, and this just kind of brought me back to being a kid and reading about those for the first time, like the drill hand alien and the dick nose alien and the little hairy guy, like all those wacky characters. And this just fits right in with that. But this happened on August 20th in 2012, and it was in the Midwest of the United States. But there was, in this time period, there was what's called I believe it's pronounced Derico. But there was a Derico storm. What this type of storm is, it's a widespread storm that lasts a very long period of time, and it's a windstorm that travels in a straight line that involves severe thunderstorms and hurricane-force winds, along with tornadoes, heavy rains, which often create flash floods. But during this particular storm, there was a widespread blackout, and it lasted a number of days. But on day 2 of the blackout, there was a woman, and this is why I say it's probably bullshit, because there's no actual names or even official locations, but there's this woman who was outside during this power outage, and the storm had just passed, and she was looking up at the sky, admiring the stars, because, due to light pollution, we don't see a lot of the stars that are in the sky. So if we were to have a widespread power outage, we would see so many more stars than you would ever see on a regular day. So she was out looking at the stars, and one of them started to move, and she said it started to move in a weird way. So she thought of it like a UFO and kind of waved at it, just, I don't know, kind of for fun, I guess, just waving at this flying star that's moving around. And after a while, she went inside and called it a night. But hours later, something in her room woke her up, and she noticed movement and thought it was her kids. So she looked in the direction of where she saw the movement at the foot of her bed and said, "Back in bed, please." And when she said that, she said the figure at the end of the bed like ducked down below the bed, and there was a figure in the doorway, and she said the figure in the doorway kind of tried to hide like around the edge of the door. But she said both of these figures were completely black, but they looked like a clustered group of rectangles in human form.
What?
Yeah. So like picture like if someone were to like make a robot out of cardboard boxes and spray paint it black. Just these cubes or rectangles stacked up on top of each other, and with like boxy arms and boxy legs, but it all solid black, like a shadow person. And there was nothing to indicate that these came from the UFO, but in her mind she linked the two together. And she said when she noticed what they were, they started to fade into the darkness, but they were darker than the dark room, like you hear with a lot of shadow person encounters.
Mm-hmm.
But she said they just kind of melted away. And when that happened, after they melted away, she said she didn't even think about it. She just rolled over and went back to sleep, which is something that you hear a lot with that sort of occurrence, with aliens specifically. But it seems like whenever there's something that has some sort of intelligence, it kind of tries to lull the person back into like a sense of security, where they just kind of roll over like, oh, this is completely normal. I'm going to sleep. Good night. And a lot of times that's used to cover up an abduction event. So maybe she was abducted.
Yeah, maybe that was her going under, watching these things fade into nothingness.
Yeah. Like they just pushed the button to cloak themselves, and she's like, oh, and then they did whatever it is that these things do to make people calm down, and she's just like, oh, I'm going back to sleep. Good night. And just rolls over, and then had dreams about boxy people abducting her, but she doesn't even remember it.
That's weird. You've talked about how much grays look like maybe heavily dressed medical personnel to somebody who's on who knows what type of drugs when they're doing those types of abductions. But the boxy shape, I mean, that really sounds otherworldly, other dimensional type of creature.
I mean, maybe she was visited by Moonanite ninjas.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's one of the lucky ones.
It was a Nignock and
She survived.
Only because the Moonanites let her. But that's such a weird fucking story, man. So weird.
Yeah, what a weird description.
So I don't know. Was it a shadow person? Was it an alien? Was it the Moonanites?
I mean, when people talk about seeing shadow people, I mean, that description right there says it all. When it comes to paranormal, supernatural cryptids, they usually call it as they see them. Mothman. It looked like a moth to them. So for them to say shadow person, they really look like people. They move like people. That's why they're called shadow people. So I don't know. I wouldn't consider this thing in the same batch, but like you just mentioned that weird documentary. I think, what was it, that Angels, Freaks, or no, I don't even know if it was that documentary.
Angels, Freaks. No, I think it was, what the fuck was it?
I don't know.
It was Angels, Aliens, and Demons, maybe?
Yes. But I think that's not the documentary I'm thinking about. Maybe it was the Hatman one when they talk about shadow people and they have that chart of all the different shadow people.
It was either the Hatman or the Nightmare.
Right. I think it was the Hatman documentary.
I think it was Hatman, though.
Yeah. But, and we were both shocked to see the variety. So who knows? There might be other reports of boxy shadow entities. But that is weird. That sounds like maybe a rarer race of aliens that popped up in a room. They're replicating the actions of other abduction stories. They just appear into the room, disappear.
What if it was like a being that was using some sort of shadow cloak, and it just kind of took on like this pixelated appearance?
Ooh, that's a good idea. That maybe the boxy shapes she was seeing was pixelation.
Yeah.
Only she knows. Come forward, lady.
Yeah. Maybe it was like someone in interstellar witness protection. So like when they roll up, they've got to blur out their appearance so they don't get recognized. They
a
saw some
self-blurring
space
device on their
crimes
wrist.
and turned over. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I came across, I'm going to send them to you. It's a photograph that appeared on Reddit in 2019, and it shows a patch of snow, and there's a long skid mark ending with some sort of object at the end of it. Have you seen these at all?
It's hard to say.
All right, I'm going to send them to you through Skype right now, if I'm allowed. Oh, no, it's not going to let me send it through Skype, you dickholes. Let me see. So when you look up the story, I mean, you can look up Antarctic Ufo, and this is what you're going to basically see.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have seen this.
Okay, and the early estimates had that skid mark measured out to be over 3,000 feet long, with that object itself coming in at about 200 feet. And it was easily pushed aside. There's a few articles I read where, I don't know, some fucking ice expert was like, even if you're not educated in this stuff, it's easy to see that it's part of some ice that had fallen off. And they had a picture from a wider angle to where I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I mean, that last shot really kind of cements it that it's probably something from that cliff or mountain or whatever the fuck that is. But so you can see the track through the snow, but when you're looking at the top of the craft, or alleged craft I should say, it's covered with ice. So if it was there long enough to accumulate that much ice, like those are some big ass ice spikes that are on that thing, and if it was there long enough to accumulate that much ice, you wouldn't still see the track in the snow. You know, unless that thing was like spraying water out of itself after it crashed and then the water froze. You're not going to get that much ice accumulation if you're still seeing the fucking track.
Right. I'm going to send you a couple close-ups of the object itself. And then I hadn't seen these pictures, but in this article that I was reading, they had these images with it as well, because apparently the people on Reddit don't fuck around. Now, this is 2019, before the rush of, I mean, maybe just the start of the rush of this disclosure wave we're going through. But why send a bunch of what look like tanks to go check this thing out?
Yeah, but again, those things that are supposed to be tanks are also covered in ice.
I'm sure that's going to happen traveling to whatever that location is. It is Antarctica.
Yeah, but it's not going to be functional. Like, I think the argument they're trying to make is they brought tanks in to confront this thing, and tanks aren't going to be functional in that environment. They are definitely rectangular shape, which leads me to believe that they're not natural structures, those things, and they're in formation. So what I think it is either overhead shots of an outpost, and those are roofs of a building, and you're just getting this shot with no context, or it was vehicles that were left outside a compound, and you're not seeing the compound in the shot, you're only seeing the vehicles.
Well, see, in the other shots, these structures weren't near this thing like they are in these later shots.
Yeah, but who's to say when each shot was taken, too? You know, that's the thing with these internet pictures, and even with the fact that it's an internet picture that no one is confirming, someone could have photoshopped those things in there.
Very true.
The whole thing could be fucking photoshopped. Right. You know, it just doesn't look consistent to me. It just seems weird that you'd have the track of something in the snow, but it's covered in ice, and then you've got these tanks that just roll up out of nowhere, but they are also covered in ice. And then when you scan out, you see that there was a mountain that's very likely where this thing came from, with a trail leading from it. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't think it's an authentic UFO crash. I think it's pictures that were posted without any context, made to look. They were posted because they look suspicious.
Just made me think of Operation, what was it, High Jump?
Wasn't it the upper atmosphere where the upper atmospheric tests where they're dumping the mannequins out of planes?
From what I remember, it was part of that whole UFO battle that took place in Antarctica.
Oh, was it the one that's ongoing allegedly,
Yeah.
where the ships are being sunk and all sorts of madness is taking place?
It says here high jumps objectives were training personnel and testing equipment in frigid conditions, consolidating and extending the U.S.'s sovereignty over the largest, blah, 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 determining, establishing, and maintaining and utilizing bases in the Antarctic, developing techniques for establishing bases in the Antarctic. Yeah, so it looks like they just chill there and do stuff, and there's that story, like you said, the ongoing fights they have with UFOs over there. Maybe they shot one down. Maybe those are like science trucks, and those are just some nerdy fucking scientists.
That's what I think. They're like, oh shit, this fucking chunk of glacier fell off the mountain. Let's go check it out. And they roll out in their trucks and take ice core samples to determine the age of the ice. That's my speculation.
I'll put these pictures in the show notes, at least a link to the article. People get funny about their pictures being used. We've gotten some weird complaints about that, but yeah, so you guys can take a look at them for yourself. I'll put them in the Discord. So if you're part of that stuff, you can go look at it there. But what else did you find, Mike?
So remember we had talked a little bit about the Chicago Mothman.
Yeah, that's like Mothman's new home.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is super interested, I guess we could do an entire episode on the Chicago Mothman. But I wanted to focus more on just like the past year. There's been a record number of sightings of what's being dubbed humanoid or flying humanoids.
What?
Last year alone, there were over 30 sightings of a flying humanoid in Chicago. There were 3 different things described, but just to give a few examples of some of the sightings, most of these beings are seen hovering in the air. There was one incident where one of these creatures jumped off the Sears Tower and flew away. There was one where there were 2 of them that were flying together, and there was a witness that was quoted as saying they flew figure eights around each other, and it looked like they were dancing in a strange sort of way. It was actually quite beautiful considering how freaking strange it was. That is a direct quote from the witness. But there was also sightings reported by a police officer. A journalist reported seeing one. They actually both saw the same thing, which was this tall, thin figure jump off of an apartment building in Auburn, Gresham, and it flew away.
Oh.
So you're familiar with Lon Strickler, right?
Yes, sir.
From Phantoms and Monsters. Yeah. He's been looking into these cases, and he said based on what he has, the reports that he has seen and the eyewitnesses that he's talked to, there seem to be 3 different types that are being seen. And they kind of went in waves. So the first wave was these tall feathered beings that had red glowing eyes. They were described as being tall, having feathers and wings and glowing red eyes. So, I mean, that you hear the red eyes and the wings and you think Mothman, but there wasn't anything else that kind of tied it to Mothman. For one, they were saying feathers. Mm-hmm. The Mothman was said to have leathery wings. They mention the red eyes, but they don't mention a lack of head or that the eyes are in the chest, which was one of the major features of the Mothman. But the second wave matched up with this Mexican legend of these beings called Lechuzas, which I guess are like Mexican witches, or like the Mexican version of skinwalkers, but instead of coyotes or wolves or whatever, they are able to transform into owls or eagles. And so they were smaller than these other beings. But recently, the sightings have been of these large black bat creatures that stand between 6 and 8 feet tall and have a wingspan that's 12 feet wide.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, dude.
Holy crap, that's scary. I mean, we talked about gargoyles in depth on an episode, but they weren't reported as being that fucking big.
Yeah, I mean, just think of how big 12 feet is. You know, that's 2 full-grown men standing on top of one another.
Yeah, if that thing's gliding, it can be easily mistaken as an airplane.
Yeah, you're not going to find a bird that big.
Damn, man, that's crazy. Now, they've been seeing flying humanoids / quote Mothman in Chicago for quite a few years now. All this is just from the past year?
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, just last year, they had over 30 sightings in Chicago.
That's crazy.
Of different flying humanoids. And there were 3 different kinds reported.
Man, there's been a increase in Nessie sightings too. You attribute that to people being at home and...
Get out of here, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
I figured the whole Nessie thing had been put to bed by now.
Yeah, same here. I'm going to look it up real quick. Yeah, 5th sighting of Loch Ness in 2021, which isn't an increase from what I understand. But you got to attribute stuff like that to people being stuck at home in places where, you know, like a loch you can walk around probably during all this. Or, I mean, Chicago, it's a heavily populated area. People are all inside, looking out their windows, sitting outside probably.
Well, not to mention it's like a metropolitan area, so you've got people that are just, you know, walking the streets, going about their daily business.
Right.
And this shit's being seen just like the Mothman in broad daylight and at night. It doesn't fucking matter. But as far as I know, Chicago isn't experiencing the other weirdness that Point Pleasant was during the Mothman. They're just having weird flying humanoids.
For now.
Yeah, for now. Indrid Cold is coming back, motherfuckers. Service with a smile.
Do you think we're going to see an increase in other cryptid sightings?
You know what? I would honestly love if there were more cryptid sightings in urban areas. Like, you know, just the urban Bigfoot. He lurks in alleys and sewers. Like, it would just... Why is it always in the backwoods? You know, and I'm not going down the road where it's all country yokels that see things, but it is always in the backwoods. Maybe because instinctually, whatever these weird creatures are that show up from time to time, know to stay the fuck away from cities, because that's where all the fucking people are, and they're all dirty and shitty and gross there.
Yeah.
Not the people, but cities, I mean. But, well, yeah, the people too. Just people in general are dirty and shitty and gross. But cities, especially big cities, are dirty, shitty, and gross. And they don't want to go near them. Like, this place isn't magical. This is atrocious.
Yeah, I think all manner of cryptids, you know, not just Bigfoot, would have learned to stay away from cities, and before that, towns, and before that, villages. Before that, tribal groups. Unless they want to eat a baby or something, then they go grab one.
Or take men to space to impregnate them.
No. Gotta be 18 out of space, baby aliens. That's part of the deal.
And they don't make deals, Mateo. You'll just take it, and that'll be it. They'll impregnate you when they're good and ready. Not when you're good and ready, when they're good and ready. You'll just be going about your daily business and pregnant. Won't even know it.
Yeah, you'll get like a text, like a vaccination text, like you're
It'll be like one of those automated text messages.
Mhm.
It's like from a 5-digit number. Congratulations, you have been impregnated with an alien child. But what? How did that happen? I was just mowing my lawn. Well, you're pregnant, so marry Glipspor. I don't even know what Glipspor is.
All right, the last thing that I found, dude. I found in a YouTube video, they talked about this website, which I'll put in the show notes. It's called Ancient Code. And interestingly enough, it's about a series of photos and film, fantastic photos, that show some sort of the clearest fucking UFOs that you'd ever want to fucking see. And these can be found, like I said, at ancientcode.com, who received them from a gentleman named John Greenwald from a group called the Black Vault, who he said he received them from UFO researcher Alex Miserita. Now, I'm going to have to text them to you again. I can't email them to you. There's a few of them here, so I'll send this right now. And I'm going to withhold one, and I'll send that one after that. This, I think, is some of the most shocking UFO shit I've ever seen. They're said to be filmed back in March of 1971 aboard the USS Trepang while sailing in the Arctic. And I looked up that ship, and that's definitely what it was doing, sailing around the Arctic at that time. I mean, they're like the Billy Mayer photographs, but I don't know if the right word is more believable.
I remember seeing these. I think I've seen them. I think I saw them a few years ago. Because I remember seeing the picture of it coming out of the water or going in the water or whatever it's doing. But yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, those are some amazing photographs, dude. But I mean, they don't seem familiar to me. I can't believe I haven't come across these. Maybe they're not as readily available as we'd like them to be. But there is one that I didn't send you yet because this one is super fucking familiar. There's your pyramid again on the ocean. I mean, that's the same fucking craft, dude.
Yeah, where's the fucking chosen one?
I don't know. I think he's been trying to get here since 71, dude.
I can't help it, man. Like I hear, I see pyramid craft and I instantly think Kung Pao. I just can't help it.
Yeah, it's the most prominent depiction of UFO shaped like a triangle ever. Pyramid, whatever.
Yeah. Out of nowhere too. Love it. So good.
But those are some gorgeous pictures, man. I mean,
yeah,
those are shocking. But I wonder, we talked about this before. It's not going to be believable until it's authenticated by the government or the military or whatever. I just want to see a little bit of calling out of the people who are total debunkers of the whole UFO thing. I mean, I'm reading articles in newspapers and seeing it like sub-headlines to where it's like, now that UAPs are real, I mean, there's people still, it's not being talked about like it should be.
I don't know about that. I feel like I said at the beginning of the show, there's so much that is being put out, and I think it's all bullshit.
We'll see. On my third trimester, you're gonna have to be rubbing my feet and eating your words, getting me Taco Bell.
Yeah, the thing is, I rub your feet and your baby fucking eats me, and that's, I mean, I'm on the, I'm downwind from where that baby's
You're
coming.
not gonna get too close to that exit.
No.
Come on, I don't think it'll attack its uncle, right?
We'll put up a contest on Patreon. So if you guys want to rub Mateo's feet and potentially be eaten by his demon alien spawn, sign up for Patreon and be part of that competition to do those things. And if you do get eaten, we have shirts for your family saying my son and or daughter was eaten by Mateo's demon baby, and all we got was this crummy t-shirt.
Yes.
And you can pass that down the family line.
It'll be part of the proof of the story.
And that's what we'll do for you. Yeah. No, my grandpa did get eaten by Mateo's demon alien baby. Prove it. And they pull out this ancient T-shirt that's been rolled up ever so delicately, and they unravel it and slowly reveal the graphic print on the front, and instantly they see acknowledgement in the eyes of the doubter. It doesn't bring that grandpa back, but it's something. It's the least you can do, Mateo.
It's going to be a cartoon of me spread eagle with like some alligator teeth in my nether region.
Mm-hmm. See, I figured you'd go more fictionalized, but all right, you want to stick to reality. That's cool too. They don't call him Snagglecrotch for nothing.
Nope. We discovered my abilities during wrestling camp in high school. got a couple taps with the help of my toothed vagina.
Oh, God help us.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.